So the hardest stage for me was the full liquid stage because I had absolutely no clue what I was doing, and all the surgeon's instructions said was you could have cream soups and applesauce and things like that, and I was completely lost. I had no idea what I was doing.
That's why I told you to cook your favorite soup and freeze it, and then when you thawed it out, take out your portion and puree it. Mm-hmm. And it worked.
It did. And also having those soups that I made, it was kind of a comfort to me because instead of saying, oh my gosh, I can't have this, I can't have this, I can't have this, it was more like, oh, this is so awesome, I get to have. I went from, I can't have, this elaborate dish, but I can have chili.
Yeah, it's just a change in mindset of planning ahead, understanding what your body's going to need, and doing those things that you need. I couldn't do the protein drinks.
Right, and I couldn't tolerate them at all. Even from the beginning, I couldn't tolerate them.
So some people can. So that helps them get the protein in. For us, it didn't work.
Right.
We were having to find some kind of meat that we could puree, that we could drink, literally.
Yeah, exactly.
And
a lot of people will make something and they'll add baby food meat to it. And if that works for you and you can handle that, that is a great idea. And I couldn't do it because I just couldn't.
No, but
I couldn't tolerate it. But
the little packets of vegetables and fruit,
right,
that come in a squeezy sippy
things, and those work too.
Those were good, and some of those had some meat in them that were really good.
But we didn't have those when we had our sleeve done.
No, but I discovered those when your sister-in-law, Adrienne, had her esophageal surgery.
Right.
And I thought, man, this is perfect for if you have to go on pureed foods or liquid foods. And there's meat added into some of those packets.
That's a really good idea.
So you can look at those, and there's off brands, there's name brands, there's every brand in the book.
Whatever you like. And
everything from applesauce to broccoli. Mm-hmm. There was one that had some kind of meat mixed with applesauce or something.
Oh, wow.
Worked great.
That is really a good idea. And is there, from your experience, because I know some people have two different stages. They have the full liquid diet, and then they have pureed foods.
Right.
Which for us, they were one and the same. But I know a lot of people, there's a difference, and I'm kind of wondering what the difference is.
Well, the difference is the clear liquid, because when I had the lap band, the first week was clear liquids.
Right.
It was broths and jello and things like that were clear. And then the second week, I could start on the full liquids, which were anything pureed or anything that was, viscous, pudding, applesauce, things like that were literally
they were
liquids.
Smooth, though, and didn't really have much of a texture.
They had no texture.
I guess then the pureed foods would have more of a texture.
Not really, because, pureed baby food is just as silky smooth as it can be.
True. But I guess my point is that for some people there's two different stages. They go from clear, then full liquids, then pureed, then soft foods.
And the pureed and the liquid was together for us.
Right.
And then we went to chopped.
Right. So that's why I'm kind of curious as to what the difference is. If you have an answer for us about what the difference is, please leave it in a comment, because that's something that I'm really interested in finding out.
Well, because it's different for every surgeon. Exactly. Has a different plan that he puts you on.
And that brings up a good point. When you were on the lap band, and of course then you had the sleeve, so was there a difference for you between your liquid diets, between the lap band and the sleeve?
Yes. When I first had the lap band, like I said, I had clear liquids. Then I went to full liquids, which was the pureed food. And then I went to soft foods. With the sleeve, I had the liquid diet prior to, and then I could have the protein liquid, and I could have liquid foods after the first 24 hours. I
Wow.
think 24 hours we were on a kind of a liquid,
That's interesting.
clear liquid diet. But that was so that if we got sick, they could tell if there was any damage going on inside. Because if you're on kind of the liquids that are pureed liquids,
Right.
you might have some color or something in that you wouldn't have in a clear liquid diet.
Right.
So that would be why they do that.
That's interesting.
But yeah, like I said, every doctor has a little bit different plan.
Yeah.
Some of the surgeries require a little bit longer on liquids than others.
Right.
And then some people, once they get to the liquid point, they're afraid to go forward.
Yeah, I've met a lot of people that are, and it's a tough transition, I think, for them, because we get in a comfort zone of being on the liquids, and we're losing really steadily.
Yeah.
And I think there's a fear there. I know I had the fear of moving on.
Well, I was ready to move on because I wanted something in my stomach because I felt like I was drinking all the time with the liquids.
And you are.
And you are.
Literally.
You're sipping all the time.
Yeah.
And that's something to be prepared for because you still have head hunger. And you'll be so hungry, your stomach is growling, your intestines are complaining because they're empty, so you keep sipping.
Some people are. There's a lot of people that never have hunger.
That's true.
After getting the surgery done, and
Don't want to eat or drink anything.
Yeah.
And that's also very dangerous because
that's also a problem because we have to eat to live.
Well,
So-
you have to have the liquids, especially with any restrictive gastric program to keep from becoming dehydrated.
Right.
Because if you get dehydrated, you can have heart palpitations, shortness of breath, pass out, all those icky things that you
Right.
don't want to happen. So you do have to remember to drink.
Yeah, and that's the important part, and that and that could be, for me, I know that's one of the reasons why the transition from clear liquids all the way through to solid foods is so slow, is because especially in those first couple of months after surgery, dehydration is really, really easy
Yeah.
to happen. I mean, it can
Well, and you had your surgery in July.
Right.
Which is the hottest
Hottest
month
month.
in Texas. And when it's 107 outside and and you're not wanting to eat, you have to remember to drink.
That's something I remember is I drank a lot.
and thank
and
goodness
even,
there's diet power drinks, those
Yes.
sports drinks.
Yeah, sports drinks.
But you can get them diet now, which
Yeah.
with the lap band, that was still kind of hard to come back.
You do have
with.
to read labels, though, because
Yeah.
I'm starting to learn that aspartame can actually keep your body dehydrated. So if you're having a hard time staying hydrated, try to stay away from anything with aspartame in it.
Yeah, and just in the 10 years since I had my lap band to the sleeve, there's so many new products that have come out. There's flavored broths. There's drink enhancements where you can squirt something in your bottle of water, things like that.
Those are
There's so
awesome.
many things, but you have to, like you said, read the labels because you want to be caffeine free. If you can be caffeine free and stay caffeine free, caffeine will dehydrate you.
Caffeine,
so
yes, that's something I'm learning too. I'm going to have to start going decaf.
Yeah.
Because it dehydrates you.
And if you don't know why the doctor wants you on a caffeine-free program, ask him. I mean, he'll tell you. It'll dehydrate you.
Now, our doctor actually didn't, at least for me when I had the sleeve, didn't take me off of caffeine. He took you off caffeine prior to the lap band surgery.
Well, I was
right?
already off caffeine.
Oh,
But
okay.
he said if you can get off caffeine, get off of it.
And that wasn't something that he told me. But some people don't have problem with it. Some people do have problem with it. I'm learning this winter. I've drank a lot of coffee because it's been cold and I don't want to drink cold water. But I'm learning that that's not exactly good for me because I've started to become dehydrated myself. So I'm having to be more mindful
Right.
now, especially that it's starting to warm up again. I'm having to be more mindful about the water and the liquids.
I agree. I think that don't be afraid of the full liquid diet.
Yeah. It's not, once you get the information under your belt and you realize that it really opens up a whole lot more options for you.
If the full liquid is seasoned and tastes good, you'll do it. If you just take baby food and try to eat it, there's no salt, there's no pepper, there's no herbs.
Disgusting.
It can be very disgusting. The best thing I found with baby food is the applesauce, or I like the peaches and the apricots.
I couldn't do the peaches or apricots because they were a little slimy for me. Yeah. Actually, the texture of the whole thing, all of it was kind of a little slimy to me, and I couldn't do it. It just kind of grossed me out.
I could not use those for the chopped food. I had to chop my own food.
Yeah.
That was just a given.
For me, moving on from the full liquids to the soft foods was the first time I had the refried beans. There's a story. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I was so hungry for real food, and I was just begging and begging and begging my doctor to go on real food, and he was like, nope, you're not ready yet. Nope, you're not ready yet. Finally, I came into the appointment, and he's like, okay, are you ready to move up because you're ready? And I was like, yes. And so we stopped. Do you remember? We stopped on the way home at Taco Bell
and got bean dip
and got me some refried beans, and
with
that
cheese.
First bite was like manna from heaven. It was the most delicious food I had ever put in my mouth because I was so sick of cream of chicken soup.
Well, and the thing was, it's probably not the best choice because it probably had a lot of fat and sodium in it.
Right.
But
it gave me a sense of normalcy.
It made you feel normal, and you weren't going to eat 3 bites of it.
I think
anyway.
I maybe ate 2.
I think
bites
we shared the.
Yeah, I think we did too. So. But it was so good, and I was so ready for that. And but going back onto the full liquids, though, you can have beans on full liquids. Some doctors allow that, and just what you do is you puree the beans, and then you add a little more broth to them, and you can have that. You can also have chicken that you've pureed with broth, which I never thought of until somebody else brought that up.
Well, I did it. I made vegetable soup with beef,
right?
And threw the chunks of beef in instead of the chunks of potato. I threw the chunks of beef in and pureed those up and added a few carrots and vegetables, which I'm not big on root vegetables right now because that's not something I can eat a lot of.
Right.
But I could puree it into that with the meat, and it was delicious.
Yeah. So, and when you get onto full liquids, and some of you that are watching this now are on clear liquids, and you're just like, I want full, but I'm scared. Don't be afraid of the full liquids. If you can tolerate the protein drinks, those are going to be your saving grace. If you're like me, like Mom, like myself, and can't tolerate them, then by all means, make up soups, stews, chilies, and put them in your blender. You want to watch your sodium count because again, dehydration is a key issue.
Well, and indigestion for a lot of people. So be careful with the chili because Jennifer was eating chili like it was going out of style,
and
she was having
so miserable.
Yeah. Even though
but I ate it anyway.
It was made with lean ground meat, and she didn't puree it.
It was the spice.
It was the spices. So be prepared.
Yeah.
That is an issue that a lot of people have right after surgery.
Yep.
Because the gas is in your system, and it takes a couple of weeks for that stuff to get out.
And some people, like me, some people go through it for a long time after as well. I'm almost close to 2 years, and I still have problems with reflux and indigestion. But, any doctor can prescribe you a great medication to help with that. My doctor did. And when I remember to take it, it works really well. So don't be afraid of it.
But I think we've pretty well covered this subject. But if you have any questions or any responses, we'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. We love comments and we love questions. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And please share our shows with everybody you love if you happen to like what we do, or if you know somebody that could use this information, because that really helps us out a lot.
Stick around and you'll see what we're up to next.
Thanks, guys.